Hello, I'm Serefina and you're watching the Creative Couture Studio. Hands up who is terrified of chiffon. I'm here with my latest creation because I want to demystify working with chiffon for luxury garments. Today specifically I want to talk about pin hem. So you've gone to all the trouble of gathering your fabric in, you've done all the fine finishes, you're super happy with it, you've even tackled binding, but you're left with the hem and you're like, what the hell do I do now and how do I do this hem? So I'm going to show you my method for doing a pin hem. Those who've watched my videos before know that I'm a huge fan of the path of least resistance, and so I'm going to show you my technique, which I think takes 99.9% of the stress out of doing pin hems. So I will show you the hem on this little beauty. She's pretty small. I'm going to show you how I do that. So I will see you in the tutorial in a sec. Keep an all to hand. You'll need it as a poking device, and what you want to do is flip back one layer at your hem, turn it back and use this edge of the gap in your fork. You want to use that side of the foot as your guideline. So you want to be lining the fabric up with this side here. And you want it pretty close to the edge. Keep going all the way around. So the extra tips I can give you for creating a pin hem, particularly on super fine fabrics like chiffon, are level your hem off first. I'm doing a hem on a straight garment. It's not a circle skirt, so I don't need to level my skirt off. One of them is, don't pin it. Just do it as you go. Once you start doing it, the fabric will kind of turn itself, and you want to just flip over a little bit. Now you want to try and keep the same width all the way round. So I'm aiming for about 7mm turning, and I'm stitching right close to the edge. So I'm using this side of my foot against the fold of the fabric as my guide, and I'm stitching all the way through the hem. We'll go on to step 2 in a minute, but on this first step, if you make sure that you give a gentle bit of resistance either side of the needle as you're sewing, so you want to pull it a little bit behind, not so that you're yanking it, but so that you're keeping it taut. You know how like when you sew elastic or something, you want to just make sure I gently stretch it out as I sew it through, because otherwise chiffon has a tendency to bunch, like it will gather. So I gently push at the back here whilst I'm sewing, and that just means that the chiffon doesn't bunch. Go all the way to the end of your fabric, and I'll see you in a sec for step 2. Next, what you're going to do is you're going to cut right back to the stitch line, not cutting through the stitching. So I always put a finger behind when I'm doing this to make sure I'm not cutting through both layers. Super sharp pair of scissors, and cut the fabric off next to the stitching, leaving a teeny tiny little bit so that the stitching doesn't come undone. You can see that. You want to go all the way to the other end. This bit takes time. So to give you an idea on scale, we're at 2mm. That's a 2mm turn back. So you've cut all the way along. If you've still got them, leave these 2 threads. If you haven't, don't worry about it, but if you've still got them, then leave these 2 threads. The next thing we want to do is check to make sure that if you've got an opening in the skirt, you want to make sure that the 2 lengths are the same. They're really close, but not quite. So I'm just going to turn that one a fraction more than the other one. So then we go on to step 3. So now for the next step, we've got our hem. What you want to do is the amount that you've got as the hem, just turn that back. So you've trimmed it right back to the stitching. You want to just flip that over, and it'll be super easy to do because you've got a bit of thickness and stability with the stitch line. Flip it back, and then you're going to repeat the process, stitching through the middle this time on your old stitch line. Now, as you remember from before, this side of mine was a little bit longer, like a couple of millimeters. So I'm gonna preempt that by folding this a couple of mil more than the other side. So that's a minimal turn. And I'm just gonna turn this a teeny bit more. So it's like not gonna notice. And that's it. How did you find that? Have I removed some of the stress of sewing with chiffon from your life? I hope so. Let me know what you think in the comments below. If you like this video, give me a like, subscribe. We are gathering a gorgeous little army of luxury makers, and I'm really excited to see you in the comments, and I'll see you for the next tutorial.